India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan Channa. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest.
And I'm Raisha Sehgal. On the show today, US President Joe Biden issued his strongest public warning to Israel against invading the crowded city of Rafah. Well, Biden warned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that a ground offensive in Rafah would be a mistake, which is the last remaining population center in southern Gaza. We'll, of course, be tracking that very closely here on the show today.
Also on the show, the gang violence in Haiti is spiraling as the Caribbean nation is currently experiencing one of its worst periods of chaos. More than a dozen bullet-ridden bodies lay in the street as the victims of the latest gang rampage, which continues in Haiti. We'll bring you the latest on that as well. For now, let's get you a roundup of all that's happening. Let's start with the headlines. This is World DNA.
Israel killed the Hamas group's third in command last week, says the White House, after Israel previously said he had been targeted in a Gaza airstrike but did not confirm his death.
Another Indian student is found dead in the US. 9th such incident reported this year. Body of the 20-year-old engineering student at Boston University was found in a car abandoned in a forest area.
At least 10 people are killed in a wealthy suburb of Haiti's capital amid reports of looting and thefts of electricity equipment as lawlessness spreads to affluent areas and gangs tighten their grip on the city.
An Israeli team to visit the US over Biden's concerns on Rafah. This after US President warns Netanyahu that an Israeli military operation in Rafah would deepen anarchy in Gaza.
In India, the NDA formally announces its seat share formula in Bihar, which places the BJP firmly as the big brother in the state with 17 seats to contest.
Emma Raducanu cannot catch a break. The 2021 US Open champion pulls out of the Miami Open with another injury. This comes as a big blow to her hopes of revitalizing her career.
And our top focus on the show is our continuous coverage of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. In the latest, Israeli troops have conducted a raid on the compound of Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital on Monday.
Well, this has resulted in a deadly confrontation. The Israeli military officials claim that over 20 gunmen were killed in the operation.
During the operation, we apprehended more than 200 terrorist suspects that are now being questioned. We eliminated more than 20 terrorists inside the hospital compound.
Israeli special forces, backed by infantry and tanks, carried out what they termed as a precise operation, based on intelligence indicating renewed usage of the hospital by the Hamas leaders. Now, during the fighting, one of the Israeli soldiers also lost his life.
The Hamas terror organization continues to systematically operate from within hospitals and civilian infrastructures. It abuses civilians and patients as human shields. Hamas tried to re-establish its base in the hospital and use it as a shelter for terrorists on the run. We will not allow this and will attack and continue to attack any place Hamas tries to re-establish its grip.
The Israeli military also released footage of the operation showcasing soldiers engaged in intense combat within the hospital compound. Hamas condemned the raid, accusing Israel of disregarding civilian lives while targeting within the hospital as well.
נמצאים כאן במתחם בית החולים שיפה. החולים שיפה, בואו תראו מה מצאנו. כפי שאתם רואים, המשרד של מנהל בית החולים, בהם נמצאו גם רימונים, גם מרגמות, כדורים והרבה כספי...
A fierce fire also erupted in one of the hospital buildings during the attack. Gaza officials emphasized upon the plight of displaced women and children who are seeking refuge within the compound. In response, the Israeli army issued warnings urging civilians to evacuate the area for their safety.
In another update, the White House has confirmed that one of the top Hamas officials was killed in an operation carried out by the Israeli military last week. The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan validated reports that Israel killed Hamas number 3, Marwan Issa.
On the other hand, a UN-backed report has predicted that a famine is likely to start in northern Gaza by May and might spread throughout the territory by July. Gaza's health ministry has said that 27 children and 3 adults have died so far from malnutrition. According to the assessment by the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, also known as IPC, hunger-related fatality rates are expected to surpass famine levels in the northern part of Gaza. Malnutrition and food insecurity have likely already surpassed famine levels. The officials have also said that under a worst-case scenario, central and southern Gaza can also face a risk of famine by July.
On Monday, Benjamin Netanyahu agreed to send a team of Israeli officials to Washington to discuss with the Biden administration officials a prospective Rafah operation.
Right, Shivan, in all this, while the White House has been extremely skeptical of Netanyahu's plan to carry out an operation in Rafah, where about 1.5 million displaced Palestinians are sheltering as of now.
The position is that Hamas should not be allowed a safe haven in Rafah or anywhere else. but a major ground operation there would be a mistake. It would lead to more innocent civilian deaths, worsen the already dire humanitarian crisis, deepen the anarchy in Gaza, and further isolate Israel internationally.
The agreement to hold talks about Rafah came as Biden and Netanyahu spoke on Monday, the first interaction in more than a month. Well, divide has grown between allies over the food crisis in Gaza and Israel's conduct during the war. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan stated that Biden questioned the Israeli leader over a lack of a coherent and sustainable strategy to defeat Hamas in the ongoing war.
A military plan cannot succeed without an integrated humanitarian plan and political plan. And the president has repeatedly made the point that continuing military operations need to be connected to a clear strategic endgame.
Republicans and Israelis were quick to express outrage after Chuck Schumer sharply criticized Netanyahu's handling of the war and called for Israel to hold new elections. They accused the Senate Majority Leader of breaking the unwritten rule against interfering in a close ally's electoral politics. Biden hasn't endorsed Schumer's call for election, but said he thought he gave a good speech that reflected the concerns of many Americans. Sullivan said Netanyahu raised concerns about the calls by Schumer for new elections.
Biden administration officials have warned they would not support an operation in Rafah without the Israelis putting forth a credible plan to ensure the safety of the civilians. And according to White House officials, Israel has not yet put forth such a plan. In the US, voters on the left are dissatisfied with Biden's unwavering support for Israel, as its military operations in Gaza have left more than 31,000 Palestinians dead.
Mr. President, have you seen the interagency report?
All right, for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani tells us more on the areas of tensions between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu. Listen in.
The Biden-Netanyahu relationship has devolved over the past several months as tensions have emerged for allowing more humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip and steps to protect civilian casualties and the future of an eventual Palestinian state. Regarding Rafah, concerns fall within three areas on the part of the White House. The civilians sheltering in Rafah have nowhere to go. Rafah is an entry point for critical humanitarian assistance, and then neighboring Egypt has voiced concern about a potential military operation there as well. Israel will now send a delegation to Washington to talk about the prospective Rafah operations. Still, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on Monday wanted to make clear that the U.S. position is that Hamas should not be allowed a safe haven in Rafah or anywhere else, adding that President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu share the common objective that Israel must prevail over Hamas.
Well, Susan further explains how a potential Rafah offensive may loom over Biden's campaign. Take a listen.
Muslim community leaders in Illinois are urging voters to protest President Biden while writing Gaza on primary ballots on Tuesday. Now, this push comes after similar efforts in states like Michigan and Minnesota. Those efforts shook President Biden's re-election campaign, with more than 150,000 voters choosing uncommitted over the president in those states' primaries. So, yes, the issue of Biden's support for Israel and how he's dealing with the war in Gaza continues to plague the campaign.
In other updates from the U.S., in a court filing on Monday, the attorneys for former President Donald Trump stated that they were unable to obtain a bond in order to secure the $454 million civil fraud judgment against him and his co-defendants.
Trump must either find the cash or post a bond to prevent the state's authorities from seizing his properties, while he appeals February 16th judgment against him or falsifying his property value to dupe lenders and insurers.
The Republican presidential candidate's lawyers urged an appeals court to delay enforcement of the judgment, arguing that the amount was excessive. They said the defendants had so far approached 30 surety companies through 4 separate brokers to obtain a bond. The lawyers asked instead that Trump was prepared to post a $100 million bond, arguing that the lending ban in the February 16th verdict made it impossible for him to secure a bond for that full amount.
However, Trump has denied wrongdoing in the case, which was brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. Overall, the Republican frontrunner and his co-defendants owe more than $454 million to the state, and they have until March 25th to secure a stay. A legal procedure that will stop the collection while he appeals, or else they will be forced to pay the monetary penalty, and some of Trump's assets might get seized in this procedure.
All right, over to Russia. Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed a huge gathering in Moscow after securing a new 6-year term in office. The large crowd bearing Russian flags gathered at Moscow's Red Square.
Right, Shivan. This was to mark the 10th anniversary of Russia's annexation of Crimea from Ukraine. Putin told the flag-waving crowd that the annexation of other Ukrainian regions to Russia have turned out to be much more grave and tragic. Take a listen.
Just this morning, I was informed that the railway from Rostov to Donetsk to Mariupol and Berdyansk has been restored. We will continue this work. Soon, trains will pass directly to Sevastopol, and this will be another alternative road to the Crimean Bridge.
Putin walked on the stage with his 3 opponent contestants after the initial results gave him an expected landslide victory in the presidential elections. The Russian president's speech was followed by a wave of chants of Russia and his name.
Russian state media shared footage of residents of Crimea celebrating the 10-year anniversary of its annexation. A motorcade of a biker club rode through Sevastopol, and marches and performances took place all over the peninsula.
Post his victory, Putin met with contestants from Kremlin-friendly parties. The 3 contestants are supportive of Russia's, and I'm quoting here, military operation in Ukraine. The chair of the Central Election Commission in Moscow said Putin won a record 88% of the vote with a new 6-year term, cementing his grip on power. The former KGB officer is said to overtake Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin as Russia's longest-serving leader in more than 200 years. Well, on Monday, former U.S. President Barack Obama visited 10 Downing Street. The 44th U.S. President met with UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak during his trip to the United Kingdom.
Now, a Downing Street spokesperson said that the visit was an informal courtesy drop-in as part of the former president's visit to London. As per reports, Barack Obama's team contacted UK Prime Minister's office, and the leader of Conservative Party was happy to discuss the work of the Obama Foundation. The trip came after Obama visited Belgium, where he met with the Belgian royal family at the Palace of Laeken.
The last time Obama visited Downing Street was in 2016. The former president met with the then Prime Minister David Cameron at number 10 for talks ahead of the Brexit vote. At that time, Obama had announced that UK would be at the back of the queue in any trade deal with the US if the country chose to leave the EU.
Shifting focus to the Caribbean, the gang violence in Haiti is spiraling as the Caribbean nation is currently experiencing one of its worst periods of chaos.
In the latest, at least 10 people were killed in a wealthy suburb of Haiti's capital. The bodies were seen lying on the streets of an upscale area situated on the outskirts of Port-au-Prince. Till now, there is no official comment on the events surrounding the deaths. Locals also reported looting and thefts of electricity equipment.
Meanwhile, the EDH electricity service said several stations have been attacked, while adding that cables, batteries and documents were stolen.
Last night around 11 p.m, as we were sitting here, two young boys suddenly appeared and opened fire on several of our brothers. They didn't address anyone. They just came up and started shooting. They didn't ask any questions. I was there when the shooting happened, and I saw them get out of a car and start shooting. I was trying to understand the situation.
All these incidents are happening in what is supposed to be the safe part of the town. Earlier, the armed gangs took advantage of the absence of acting Prime Minister Ariel Henry to escalate violence. Till now, they have attacked several infrastructure, including police stations and government offices.
Due to international pressure, unelected Andre announced his resignation while being stranded in Puerto Rico. Caribbean leaders and the United States are supporting a transitional council that could take over the country now.
But several key factions have refused to participate in this procedure. While gang leader Jimmy Barbecue Scherzier has rejected any solution backed by the international community.
Meanwhile, US says that Haitian stakeholders are very close to finalizing membership to the Haitian Transitional Council as they remain in active discussions with the leaders of Caribbean community. Gang leader Barbecue has been one of the most outspoken enemies of Ariel Henry, demanding his resignation ever since he was sworn in as the Prime Minister of Haiti.
The police are trying to recapture areas held by the gang leader right now.
I expect them to have an update, hopefully as soon as today, and refer you to them in CARICOM. But the announcement of this council, we believe, will help pave the way for free and fair elections and the deployment of the multi-national security support mission. And the TPC's goal is to work for and improve the lives of all Haitians. And we're seeing gang members do the exact opposite.
Gang violence in Haiti has taken a toll on its healthcare system. According to aid workers, medical supplies are running critically low in the Caribbean country.
In the past 2 weeks, hospitals have been set ablaze and doctors have been murdered. Several facilities, including trauma care centers, have been ransacked. Healthcare workers are staying home to avoid being caught in the crossfire of street violence. And this has led to a rise in the number of preventable deaths of pregnant women and elderly people. A recent MSF survey has found that 4 in every 10 deaths are now being caused by violence in Haiti. And it's time now for a quick short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. We will be back when we get back. At first, India's Enforcement Directorate has named Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in a press note regarding a probe into the liquor policy case. Hitting out, the Aam Aadmi Party stated that the Bharatiya Janata Party BJP wants the party chief and Delhi CM arrested. We'll get you the full report.
Also, on the other side of this break, a tragic incident. An Indian student has died in Boston. We'll get you all the details right after this short break.
On the next episode of World of Africa, diplomatic and military relations between the US and the West African nation of Niger hit a new low as Niger's junta says the US military presence in the country is no longer justified. An artificial intelligence-powered mobile phone service that works offline is changing lives for thousands of Nigerians who do not have access to smartphones or the internet. And a Tunisian woman devotes her life to caring for injured pets. Watch World of Africa at these times only on WION. World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
From New York, we get you to the sandy shores of Durban, where I'll bring you all the glitz, glam, and happenings from the world of showbiz.
Welcome to the Eras Tour.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
The biggest democratic exercise on the planet ever. Decoding the multiple colors of this multi-dimensional, multi-layered spectacle. WION deciphers the images and the hues. Sifts real performance from rhetoric and noise, claims and counterclaims, populist pitches and hidden truths. Untangling, unraveling this celebration of democracy.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha and Shivan. On the show so far, we were talking about our continuous coverage of the ongoing Israel-Hamas war, when the latest US President Joe Biden has now issued his strongest public warning to the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, warning that a ground offensive in Rafah would be a huge mistake.
Also on the show in the next half hour, we are going to be bringing you a roundup of all that's happening in the Indian political scenario. The NDA allies in Bihar have announced their seat-sharing agreement. We are going to be tracking that and all that's happening in the Indian political scenario. Let's get you started with the headlines at this hour. This is World DNA.
Israel killed the Hamas group's third in command last week, says the White House. after Israel previously said he had been targeted in a Gaza airstrike but did not confirm his death.
An Israeli team to visit US over Biden's concerns on Rafah. This after US President warns Netanyahu that an Israeli military operation in Rafah could deepen anarchy in Gaza.
Another Indian student found dead in the US, 9th such incident this year. Body of the 20-year-old engineering student at Boston University was found in a car abandoned in forest area.
At least 10 people are killed in a wealthy suburb of Haiti's capital amid reports of looting and thefts of electricity equipment as lawlessness spreads to affluent areas and gangs tighten their grip on the city.
In India, the NDA formally announces its seat share formula in Bihar, which places the BJP firmly as the big brother in the state with 17 seats to contest.
(2021) US Open champion Emma Raducanu pulls out of the Miami Open with another injury. This comes as a big blow to her hopes of revitalizing her career.
Starting with India, Shivin, the BJP-led National Democratic Alliance has finalized seat sharing in the Indian state of Bihar ahead of elections in India.
Now, the BJP is set to contest on 17 seats. Bihar total has 40 seats. BJP will contest on 17, while Chief Minister Nitish Kumar-led JDU will contest on 16 seats.
The seat-sharing arrangement was announced by BJP's General Secretary Vinod Tavre at a joint press conference held by members of the Bihar NDA alliance.
The seats on which BJP will contest include Aurangabad, Madhubani, Darbhanga and Muzaffarpur. JDU's seat share includes Gopalganj, Siwan, Bhagalpur. Meanwhile, the Lok Janshakti Party faction led by Chirag Paswan will contest on 5 seats: Vaishali, Hajpur, Samastipur, Khagaria and Jamui.
Ahead of the announcement, Nitish Kumar visited New Delhi earlier in January. Kumar made a dramatic comeback to the BJP-led NDA fold. The state in the Hindi heartland is crucial for national politics.
Now, according to sources, the Mahagathbandhan or the Grand Alliance is facing a conflict over a seat-sharing deal for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, with the Rashtriya Janata Dal, the Congress and the left claiming a few of the same seats. RJD leader and former Bihar Deputy CM Tejasvi Yadav is also hinting at the national capital to participate in the final seat-sharing talks with the other alliance members and find a solution to the conflict. Remember, according to the Election Commission of India's schedule, the voting for Bihar's 40 seats will take place in 7 phases.
Right, Shivan, and the votes will be counted on June 4th.
Now, in a first, India's Enforcement Directorate has named Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal in a press note regarding a probe into the liquor policy case.
Hitting out, the Aam Aadmi Party stated that the Bharatiya Janata Party wants the party chief and the Delhi Chief Minister arrested.
The Delhi government introduced a new liquor policy back in November 2021, exiting from the liquor business and handing it over to private vendors in a license-based system. It was done, it said, to eliminate the liquor mafia, increase government revenue and improve consumer experience. Now, the excise policy was withdrawn after a Central Bureau of Investigation probe was recommended by the Delhi Lieutenant Governor into violation of norms and lapses. As per the Enforcement Directorate press statement, probe revealed that Bharat Rashtra Samiti leader K. Kavita and others conspired with AAP leaders Kejriwal and Sisodia.
K. Kavita is allegedly a key member of the South Group, accused of paying the Aam Aadmi Party kickbacks of over $12 million in return for a big share of liquor licenses. Reacting to the Enforcement Directorate press statement, the Aam Aadmi Party flagged political vendetta and said that the matter is in court. India's ED is an organization mandated with investigation of the offence of money laundering and violations of foreign exchange laws.
Now, in yet another tragic incident, an Indian student has died in Boston.
And this has further raised concerns within the community about Indian students' safety in the United States of America. The US officials have announced on Monday that initial investigations into the death of Abhijit Paruchuru have found no signs of any foul play.
Well, this is the 9th such reported incident this year. Sources report that the 20-year-old student's last rites have already been performed in his hometown of Tenali, Andhra Pradesh. This was done with assistance from a US-based non-profit organization, Team Aid.
The Consulate General of India in New York expressed deep sadness over the demise of Paruchuru, extending condolences to his family. In a post, they wrote, and I'm quoting here, "Deeply saddened to learn about the unfortunate demise of Mr. Abhijit Paruchuru, an Indian student in Boston. We remain in touch with local authorities and the community in the matter."
Paruchuru's case adds to a series of similar incidents involving Indian students in the United States this year. Just last month, Amarnath Ghosh, a talented classical dancer and student at Washington University, was tragically shot dead in St. Louis in Missouri.
And in February, the community mourned the loss of Sameer Kamath and Vivek Taneja, both students in separate incidents in Indiana and Washington. The alarming rise in attacks on Indians and Indian origin individuals, it has prompted officials from the Indian Embassy and consulates across the US to engage with students on matters of safety and well-being. These interactions aim to address concerns and foster a sense of community support among Indian students living in the United States of America. On the world of business now, symbolic of China's crumbling real estate sector, Evergrande Group, once a real estate behemoth, is facing the consequences of financial misconduct.
Well, the China Securities Regulatory Commission, CSRC, has accused Evergrande of inflating its revenue by $78 billion over 2 years. This manipulation involved recognizing sales in advance, significantly boosting reported revenue figures. The CSRC has imposed a fine of 47 million yuan on former chairman Hui Ka-yan and banned him from participating in capital markets for life. This revelation raises serious questions about the validity of Evergrande bonds issued in 2020 and 2021, which may have relied on falsified financial data.
Evergrande's woes stem from a combination of aggressive debt accumulation and a changing market landscape. The company's rapid expansion was fueled by massive borrowing, a strategy that became unsustainable when regulators tightened restrictions on borrowing in the real estate sector. And this coincided with an economic slowdown and the impact of the pandemic, which majorly dampened condo sales in the country. The company's financial house of cards began to crumble, culminating in defaults on its debt obligations. As a result, Evergrande's stock price plummeted and was eventually suspended from trading. Hui Kaiyan, once Asia's second richest man with a net worth of $42 billion, has seen his wealth dwindle to $1 billion.
The future of Evergrande remains uncertain. The company faces the daunting task of restructuring its massive debt pile while navigating a challenging economic environment. The fallout from this scandal is likely to have a ripple effect on China's real estate market and beyond. China is off to a robust start in 2024. Factory output and retail sales have surpassed expectations.
Right. However, the property sector continues to dampen its growth trajectory. Our next report looks at China's economic performance in 2024 so far. Take a look.
China's economic performance in the first 2 months of 2024 presents a picture of both promise and concern. Industrial output surged by 7%, exceeding expectations and marking the fastest growth in nearly 2 years. Consumer spending also showed some initial strength, with retail sales climbing 5.5%. However, this growth is slower compared to December's figures, hinting at a potential slowdown. Additionally, the job market remains a worry, with the nationwide unemployment rate ticking up to 5.3%. Liu Aihua, spokesperson for China's National Bureau of Statistics, highlights the growth amid challenges.
In general, from January to February, with macroeconomic policies taking effect, the national economy continued to recover and take a turn for the better. However, it should also be noted that the external environment is becoming more complex, severe, and uncertain. The domestic effective demand remained insufficient. The foundation for the economic recovery and growth needs to be consolidated.
China's property sector continues to be a major drag on the economy. Property investment continues to fall, dropping 9% year-on-year despite some improvement from December. Weak property sales compared to last year further highlight the sector's struggles. The government has pledged a stimulus package of 1 trillion yuan to support key sectors. Additionally, the central bank has hinted at the possibility of further cuts to banks' reserve ratios following a January reduction. These measures aim to boost economic activity and mitigate the impact of a potential slowdown. However, global headwinds and a potential stagnation in the future raise concerns about China's long-term economic prospects. The success of China's efforts to stabilize growth and navigate these uncertainties will be closely watched in the coming months. Bureau Report WION World is One.
Let's now take a look at the latest from the world of technology. An Australian regulator has sent legal letters to social media platforms demanding that they hand over information about their efforts to stop terrorist content on their platforms. This includes YouTube, X, Facebook, Telegram and Reddit. The Australian E-Safety Commission believes that the platforms are not doing enough to stop extremists from using live streaming features and also recommendation systems to recruit users. According to the regulator, extremist groups prefer Telegram the most when it comes to radicalizing and recruiting new members. This is not the first time that this is happening. In 2023, Elon Musk's X was handed the first e-safety fine of $386,000 over its response to questions about its handling of child abuse content on its platform.
Apple users may soon be able to use Google's Gemini artificial intelligence engine on their iPhone. According to reports, negotiations between Apple and Google are currently underway. An official announcement can be expected post-June this year. A potential deal between the firms could help Google expand the use of its AI services to more than 2 billion active Apple devices. This will help boost the search giant's efforts to catch up with Microsoft-backed OpenAI. Reports further suggest the iPhone maker also held talks with ChatGPT maker OpenAI about using its model. Meanwhile, Apple is planning to expand its own homegrown AI models in its upcoming iOS 18. However, they're seeking a partner to power generative AI features, such as functions for creating images and writing essays based on simple prompts.
The US Supreme Court is addressing a dispute between Republican-led states and the Biden administration. The case is regarding government intervention in social media content related to COVID-19 and election security. The justices are hearing arguments in a lawsuit filed by Louisiana, Missouri and other parties accusing Democratic officials in the administration of leaning on the social media platforms to unconstitutionally suppress conservative points of view. Lower courts had favored the state's argument, but the Supreme Court halted the decisions made for review. This includes the public officials' ability to block followers and state laws that restrict social media companies' content moderation. The White House contends that such allegations lack evidence of coercion and that government participation in public discourse is essential for effective governance. The Supreme Court is expected to issue a ruling on the matter by June end.
Japanese tech giant Fujitsu has faced a major cyber attack on its systems. The company has issued a statement cautioning that hackers might have accessed personal and customer data. The company further noted that an internal probe has revealed files with personal and customer details may have been illicitly accessed in response to the detection of malware in its systems. Fujitsu has isolated the compromised computers from its network. However, the tech company has not yet provided specifics about the malware involved or even the nature of the attack. Fujitsu has informed Japan's Data Protection Authority in anticipation that personal information might have been stolen during the hack. Currently, the firm has 124,000 workers and caters to government as well as private sector customers across the world.
On the world of sports now, world number one, Simona Halep will make her return to tennis later today after a gap of 1.5 years.
Well, the Romanian will play Paula Badosa in the first round of the Miami Open after her doping ban was reduced from 4 years to 9 months. The two-time Grand Slam champion was handed a wild card for the WTA 1000